Imagine stepping into a medieval English market just as the first light breaks, mist curling around timber stalls, the smell of wool, grain, and hearth smoke drifting in the air. Amid the bustle, one product stands out like quiet treasure: wheels of pale gold cheddar. Long before it filled modern shelves, cheddar was already prized for its rich flavour, remarkable shelf life, and the unique Somerset landscape that shaped every wheel. In a world without refrigeration, what made this humble cheese so coveted by peasants, merchants, and nobles alike? Cheddar's medieval reputation began with a landscape so perfectly suited to cheesemaking that it seemed crafted for the task. The towering limestone cliffs of Cheddar Gorge concealed a network of cool, naturally ventilated caves, each functioning as an ideal aging chamber, long before people understood the science of temperature control. Inside these caverns, humidity remained stable, allowing cheese wheels to mature slowly and evenly, developing the dense texture and subtle sharpness that became Cheddar's trademark. Beyond the caves, Somerset's pastures played an equally critical role. Medieval cattle grazed on mineral-rich grasses nourished by the region's fertile soil and mild microclimate. These long grazing seasons produced milk with notably high butterfat content, the essential ingredient for rich, flavourful cheese. Farmers may not have known the chemical reasons behind it, but they understood that milk from Somerset cows behaved differently, forming firmer curds and producing wheels that aged better than those from other regions. Together, the caves, the climate, and the land created what medieval people recognised as a rare advantage. Nature itself engineered superior cheese. In an era when most dairy products varied wildly from season to season, cheddar stood apart as a cheese whose quality could be trusted, and its origin in the rugged beauty of Cheddar Gorge became part of its legend. What truly set cheddar apart in medieval England was not only its landscape, but the unique human ingenuity behind its production. Medieval cheesemakers in Somerset developed an innovative method now known as cheddaring, a step that transformed ordinary curds into something far more resilient. After the milk was curdled and cut, cheesemakers stacked slabs of curd atop one another, then sliced, flipped, and restacked them repeatedly. This rhythmic labour slowly pressed out excess moisture while strengthening the curd structure, creating a firmer, more durable cheese. The process required skill and attentiveness, and it produced results that astonished merchants and travellers. While many medieval cheeses spoiled within weeks, Cheddar's carefully cheddared curds allowed the wheels to last for months, sometimes even longer. The cheese held its shape on bumpy cart journeys, resisted mould better than softer varieties, and maintained a consistent texture, a rare achievement in a time before standardised dairy practices. In markets where food reliability meant survival, such consistency became a powerful selling point. Cheddar wasn't simply delicious, it was dependable. From tavern owners to monastic sellers to long-distance traders, everyone recognised its value. The invention of cheddaring transformed a regional specialty into a product with national demand, marking a turning point in England's medieval dairy craft. In medieval England, where harsh winters, failed harvests, and unpredictable weather constantly threatened food supplies, any ingredient that could endure long storage held immense strategic value. Cheddar quickly became respected as one of the most reliable survival foods of its time. Its dense structure and low moisture content, thanks to the cheddaring process, enabled it to last for months without spoiling, even in less than ideal storage conditions. This made it indispensable for households that needed dependable nourishment through the cold season. Large estates and monasteries, responsible for feeding dozens or even hundreds of workers, relied heavily on cheddar. Stored in cool cellars, the wheels provided a steady source of protein and fat when fresh dairy was scarce. For soldiers on campaign, cheddar was even more valuable. Unlike soft cheeses that dissolved or rotted within days, cheddar endured long marches, humid ships, and shifting temperatures. Armies prized it as a durable ration that boosted morale and offered calorie-dense sustenance. Its longevity also gave communities a sense of security during times of scarcity. In a world without refrigeration, a food that could survive both time and travel was nothing short of precious. Cheddar, therefore, was not only a culinary product but a quiet safeguard against hunger, a practical lifeline woven into the rhythms of medieval life. Monasteries played a decisive role in transforming cheddar from a regional specialty into a recognised product across medieval England. Cistercian and Benedictine communities known for their agricultural discipline approached cheesemaking with written routines, careful measurements, and daily supervision, an unusual level of organisation compared to ordinary farms. Their records documented timing, curd handling techniques, and storage methods, creating a consistency that ordinary household production seldom achieved. Because monastic estates were vast, they possessed the cattle, pastures and labour needed to produce cheese on a larger scale. Surplus wheels were transported to nearby towns and occasionally to major markets such as Bristol, where urban consumers increasingly sought aged cheeses. As monks traded regularly with merchants, Cheddar's reputation spread far beyond Somerset's rural borders. Monasteries also acted as training grounds. Workers, tenants and lay brothers learned standardised techniques that they later brought back to villages and independent farms. This diffusion of knowledge helped ensure that Cheddar's quality and methods became recognisable across different producers. Through their discipline, networks and influence, monastic communities helped elevate Cheddar from a simple dairy product into an organised medieval industry, one with standards, continuity and growing national prestige. As medieval towns expanded and trade networks strengthened, Cheddar transformed from a local specialty into one of Somerset's most prized commercial goods. Markets in the region, particularly those near Cheddar and Wells, earned reputations for reliable dairy products, drawing merchants who understood the value of a cheese that aged predictably and travelled well. Cheese wheels were often weighed, taxed and inspected, an administrative effort that signalled Cheddar's importance in the marketplace. The journey from rural farms to urban tables often passed through Bristol, one of England's busiest medieval ports. Merchants transported Cheddar along well-used trade routes, bound for growing cities like London, where urban elites developed a taste for aged cheeses with deeper, sharper flavours. The more Cheddar moved, the more its prestige grew, and its presence in long-distance trade reflected a level of quality few regional cheeses could match. Bristol's export connections even allowed Cheddar to reach markets abroad, particularly in the British Isles. Although its international fame would peak centuries later, the medieval foundations of its trade began here, at bustling market stalls or merchant carts and import warehouses stacked with wheels. Cheddar had quietly become not only a food but a high-value commodity, its reputation spreading in tandem with England's expanding commercial world. Among the nobility, Cheddar earned a place not just as a food, but as a subtle symbol of refinement. Medieval aristocrats had access to imported delicacies, wine from Gascony, spices from the Levant, but Cheddar offered something uniquely English, a flavour shaped by domestic land, labour and tradition. Aged Cheddar, with its firm texture and deep nutty sharpness, became particularly desirable at aristocratic feasts, where its presence alongside foreign luxuries highlighted both local pride and culinary sophistication. Household inventories from noble estates often listed Cheddar among their stored provisions, and detailed feast accounts show it being served in slices or grated into elaborate dishes. Gift-giving between manor houses sometimes included carefully aged wheels, wrapped and presented as tokens of goodwill or prestige. These gifts carried meaning. They signified access to reliable producers, wealth to store cheese for long periods, and taste refined enough to appreciate aged dairy. For the upper class, Cheddar was more than sustenance. It represented the abundance of rural England and the craftsmanship embodied in each wheel. While common people valued Cheddar for nourishment and durability, the nobility elevated it into a quietly luxurious item, one that reflected status, hospitality, and the growing sophistication of English medieval cuisine. Cheddar's rise in medieval England cannot be understood without looking at the broader cattle-based economy that shaped rural life. England's mixed farming systems, where herds grazed alongside fields of grain, created a stable, renewable supply of milk throughout much of the year. Somerset, in particular, had long been known for its hardy cattle, which thrived in the region's damp, grass-rich environment. This dependable milk production laid the foundation for large-scale cheese-making. Over generations, selective breeding practices gradually improved cow yields. Medieval farmers, though not scientists, recognized which animals produced richer, more abundant milk and bred accordingly. As productivity increased, so did the capacity to produce high-quality cheese beyond household needs. Cheddar fits seamlessly into this agricultural rhythm. It preserved the value of milk that might otherwise spoil the same day, transforming a fragile liquid into a durable commodity. The cheese-making cycle also supported rural employment. Dairymaids, herdsmen, labourers and market sellers all relied on the cheese economy. On estates, surplus cheddar contributed to rent payments, estate income and trade obligations. In many ways, Cheddar was a microcosm of the medieval rural economy, a product that showcased the interdependence between livestock, land, and labour. Its success was not accidental, but the culmination of England's long tradition of cattle farming. Across medieval England, nearly every region produced cheese, yet few gained the prestige enjoyed by cheddar. The biggest challenge for most varieties was inconsistency. Weather, milk quality, and household skill varied widely, meaning that even cheese from the same village could differ from month to month. Soft cheeses, though delicious fresh, were especially prone to spoilage. Without cool storage or controlled aging, they rarely survived the journey to distant markets. Cheddar's advantages were striking in contrast. Thanks to the cheddaring process, its wheels expelled moisture more effectively, making them far less susceptible to mold and bacterial decay. This gave cheddar an impressive resilience to temperature shifts, an invaluable trait in a world where goods travelled on open carts and were stored in fluctuating conditions. Merchants appreciated this reliability, for a cheese that spoiled en route meant financial loss. Other regional hard cheeses existed, but few matched cheddar's consistency. Its flavour matured predictably, its texture remained firm, and its colour stayed stable. In chaotic markets where quality often depended on luck, cheddar earned a reputation for dependability. This made it the preferred choice not only for long-distance buyers, but also for households seeking a trustworthy food source. Through these contrasts, cheddar distinguished itself as England's most dependable medieval cheese. For medieval commoners, cheddar was more than a market commodity. It was a dependable everyday food that fit naturally into working-class life. In a world where labourers spent long hours in fields, workshops, or mills, a small piece of cheddar provided essential fat and protein that sustained energy throughout the day. Unlike fresh milk, which spoiled quickly, cheddar could be stored for weeks or months in cool corners of cottages, making it one of the few reliable dairy options available year-round. Peasant households often incorporated cheddar into pottage, the thick vegetable stew that served as a daily staple. It was also eaten with coarse bread during work breaks, or added in thin shavings to bulk up simple meals. The cheese's long shelf life meant that even during winter or periods of poor harvest, families could stretch their food supplies further. Cheddar also held quiet social value. Sharing a wheel among neighbours during difficult seasons strengthened communal bonds. Its presence in the home symbolised a certain degree of stability, a reassurance amid the uncertainties of medieval life. Whether consumed by ploughmen, craftsmen, or market women, cheddar became one of the rare foods that crossed class boundaries, nourishing both the poor and the wealthy. Cheddar's medieval journey reveals a remarkable alignment between nature, skill, and human need. Born from Somerset's fertile pastures and cooled in the silent limestone caves of Cheddar Gorge, the cheese embodied the harmony between landscape and craft. It nourished peasant families through long winters, supported armies on campaign, and found its way onto aristocratic tables, where it symbolised both refinement and English identity. More than a food, cheddar became a quiet anchor in an unpredictable medieval world, reliable when harvests failed, valuable when markets fluctuated, and cherished when shared in humble homes or grand halls. Its legacy reminds us that some of history's most enduring culinary icons were not born from luxury, but from practicality, resilience, and the ingenuity of ordinary people. From the medieval pastures of Somerset to its status today as one of the world's most recognised cheeses, Cheddar's story is a testament to how simple rural traditions can shape a nation's cultural memory.